Hello YouTube, this is Ian here again, and we're going to be working with Windows Server 2008. On the screen here I have a couple tasks we're going to be performing to Server 01. We're going to create a standalone DFS namespace. We're going to add a folder to the namespace. We'll test standalone namespace access, create a domain-based namespace, and finally add a namespace server. First, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to navigate to Server Manager under Administrative Tools. Now, if your server already has the file services role installed, you can start the Add Role Services wizard instead and add the DFS role services. Mine already has the file services installed, so I'm going to click File Services. I'm going to scroll down to add the service roles. Click Add Role Services. Now you're going to want to check the Distributed File System box. This will check the DFS namespace and replication checkboxes. We're going to click Next, and we're going to create a namespace. Then what we're going to name it is we're going to name it Data. Go ahead and click Next, and then we're going to be creating a standalone namespace. So we'll click the radio button next to Standalone, click Next. Now under the folder, we're going to add a folder. We're going to click Browse. We're going to show the shared folders. Now if you notice, this is the spreadsheets document from the last lab. Here I've created a Data1 folder that in the folder the permissions are as follows. The administrators have full access while other users have read and write. Now I've created the folder for my namespace. We're going to click OK and then click Next, and then it tells you about the information that you've just configured. It shows you the namespace type and the name. We're going to go ahead and click Install, so it'll install the DFS systems. Now it may take a couple minutes to install, but it'll ask you for a server restart. Once the server restarts, it'll tell you that you finally successfully completed the add a namespace. Now once the server restarts, we're going to add a folder to the namespace. Now the server is restarted. Before we continue to the next step, we're going to see the UNC code and see if it'll find the data folder we created. So we'll type in server 01 / data. And as you can see here, here's the two folders that we created earlier. One's for the namespace and the other one's for the folder contents folder. Alright, so once we've created the namespace and we've added a folder to the namespace, what we're going to want to do now is test the standalone namespace access. Now in order to do that, we're going to navigate to the C drive of the computer using the Windows Explorer. We're going to click the Data01 file that we created. Here you would right click to create a new folder. I have already done so and I've named mine statistics. Inside it I have a budget file with a simple text, nothing too important. What we're going to want to do now is we're going to run the UNC of the partner server. In order to do that, click Run. You would type in the / server, in this case it's going to be O2 data, then we're going to type OK. Notice how it pops up the data O2 folder. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to open up the data2 file. Data1 file. And you'll see how the statistics folder is in the namespace. Now once you've done this, what we're going to do is check the DFS roots file. Now in order to do this, you're going to want to locate the C drive, navigate back to it. As you can see here, it's the DFS roots file. And once you've done so, you successfully tested the standalone access of the namespace you've created. Okay, so now that we've tested the namespace standalone access, what we're going to want to do is we're going to create a domain-based namespace. Now in order to do that, we're going to navigate to the DFS management. In the namespace node, we'll select it, make sure it's selected. Then we're going to click New Namespace. We're going to name it server 01. Then click next. And for the name, we're going to name it docs01. We'll click edit settings. And then we're going to select the administrators have full access, other users have read and write permissions options. Click OK and then click next. We're going to leave the domain-based namespace option selected. Then we'll click next. And then this shows you the settings of the namespace that you're creating on the domain. Go ahead and click create. The wizard creates the namespace. Now we're going to click close. Now notice how the docs01 namespace appears in the DFS management console. We're going to select it. And in the actions pane, we're going to select new folder. Now we're going to click add. We're going to click browse. And we're going to add the data01 shared folders on the server. Click OK. And then we'll click OK again. We're going to name it docs. And then we're going to click OK. Now it creates the folder in the domain namespace. Now that concludes creating the domain-based namespace. Okay, so now we've completed the steps. We've added a namespace. We added a folder to the namespace. We created a standalone namespace. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add a namespace server. Now in order to do that, we're going to open up the DFS management console. Go to administrative tools, go to DFS management. We're going to expand the namespace node, which will be on the left. We're going to select the namespace, then we're going to select the docs namespace we created. We're going to click in the right in the actions pane, add a namespace server. The add namespace server dialog box appears. In the namespace server text box, we're going to key server 01. We'll click edit settings. And then we're going to select administrators have full access. Other users have read and write permissions. We're going to click OK. Then we're going to, in the add namespace server, we'll click OK again. In the DFS management console, we'll select the namespace servers tab. As you see here, here's the namespace server that we created for documents 01. Now that concludes adding a namespace server, and that also concludes Lab 3. Thank you for watching.